Let's go with this one. Necrits, how powerful are champions according to lore, which is actually really important to me because of the video where I reacted to his video. I'm reacting to him a lot. His video where he says, like, here's the raids that can happen, stuff like that. And I made some mistakes, especially regarding Viego. So let's see how powerful these enemies really are, so I can get a better understanding of what's going on in League of Legends. For the most part, I thought I got the point of it. I didn't know Viego's story, so I definitely didn't know how strong he is. But for the most part, you know, like Celestials and stuff like that are going to be at the top. Ancient One's going to be like even stronger than that, stuff like that. So yeah, but I don't know much about like power levels between champions. Like some of them might be dungeons, some of them might be raids, some of them might be just assisting characters because it depends on like where they align. But yeah, let's go. Without further ado. Oh, here's a cat.
On this channel we have talked about a lot of different topics and we have made a lot of different top 10 lists.
Yeah.
We have ranked champions based on their lore, even though that video is outdated now. We have talked about the most powerful champions according to the lore. And then we did it again after Riot retconned their old universe. And we even talked about the weakest champions according to the lore. But we have never ranked every single champion based on their power in the lore compared to each other. So, that's what we are fixing today. Today we will rank every single champion based on their power in the lore, but there is a slight catch. We will be ranking what their power can be measured as. Or if you want to make that comparison, we will be judging their power level. But power level doesn't come only from combat. Lilia is a good example. If Lilia fought Sett, Sett would probably snap her neck. But that doesn't mean that Lilia is weaker than Sett. She is still a spirit born from the dreams in Ionia. Her power level is much higher than the other Vastayan. So when we talk about this list, remember that we are boiling the champions down to a single number. We will be calling that the power level. However, if one champion is above the other, that doesn't necessarily mean that the higher one would be able to take down the lower one in combat. Power doesn't always come from fighting. With that said, we will not be taking into account political power. Swain is one of the leaders of an entire empire. That should give him a massive political influence. But
I want power level. Because like, so for example, he went on and said like Renata would be a raid boss. And like, bro, Renata's power is literally money. Like in the lore. It's like she barely does like, she's not a raid type boss. Like she's a dungeon boss at most, right? She's not very strong on her own. Just because she controls a lot of money, you can't really portray that as power when you fight her, right? Inside of an MMO. So I don't see her as a raid boss, as an example. Swain, I don't see as a raid boss currently. Just because he has political power doesn't mean he's like... Unless the raid consists of like fighting like waves of monsters and eventually Swain comes, then maybe, but it's like it has to be like a massive ad fight in order for him to be like a raid boss.
That kind of influence on other people is not necessarily his own power. It's just that the other people trust him. Or are forced into trusting him. So we are focusing purely on the individuals. Lastly, I understand that a lot of people will have their bias. We all main some champions.
100%.
But even if you main a champion, just understand that maybe your main is not that powerful in the lore.
Oh, he's not.
Just deal with it.
Kassadin apparently is a fucking scrub compared to like some of the characters here, but I was like, bro, please give me more Kassadin.
And to make sure I didn't have any bias and this list is as fair as...
Did they redo Kayle and Morgana lore at some point? I know they remade the two characters, right? So it's like, I hope they updated the lore to the point where it's like, it would make sense right now. Because Kayle and Morgana original lore does not make sense at all right now.
Possible. We spent 4 hours on stream moving around the different champions to strike the perfect balance. There still are some champions that are debatable, but we will talk about these as we get to them. So now, without further ado, since we have more than 150 different champions to talk about, let me try to briefly justify the placement of all of them. Looking at this list, understand that the ladders don't matter. It doesn't matter if a champion is S rank or A rank, what matters is the placement compared to each other. That's why, instead of using this kind of list, we will be using this kind of list.
How much you want to bet this down here is a Mumu? This is Twitch. This is Zac. This is Lucian. Vayne. Is this Fizz? I can't tell. Jinx for sure. Misfortune. Akali. Sivir. Veigar. Zac? Or is this Zac? One of these is Zac. Alright, enough
This
guessing.
has all the champions on one list compared to each other.
Yeah.
And even though this looks very complicated, it is very easy to understand. The most powerful champions are at the top, the weakest at the bottom. And in each row, the most powerful is on the left and the weakest is on the right. However, we still have 5 champions at the very bottom, which don't have
I knew
any
it was a
lore.
Mumu, bro.
Or even if they do, the lore tells us nothing
About their power, yeah.
This is mainly the Voidborn, Corki, who was only ever mentioned in a cinematic,
Yep.
Shaco, who really just doesn't exist, and Amumu, who
Basically.
is just a legend. We
Yeah.
have no idea what's happening with him. So now, finally, let's get onto the list.
Let's go.
From the video where we have ranked the weakest champions according to the lore, you may remember that the old crowned king of the weakest champions was Draven. Draven is an entertainer
Really?
who is a good fighter but who lacks some real training. That's why he used to be the worst. But ever since then, things changed slightly.
Oh, okay.
First of all, the new crowned king of the weakest champions in
Seraphine.
League is Seraphine. She is literally a person who can hear your thoughts.
Wow.
The end. I wonder how that's gonna protect her from the blade of an axe. But above her, instead of Draven,
Jinx.
we have Jinx. And there's only one reason why that is the case. You see, Jinx is just a crazy person with a gun.
Yeah.
Jinx is the Florida man of Runeterra. She is certainly dangerous, but compared to all the other magical creatures on this list,
Yeah.
she's really not that strong.
Yeah.
And the only reason why Draven would be able to beat her is because very recently Riot tried to give us some context as to how Draven works. His problem used to be that when he throws away his axe, he can't get it back again. But Riot tried to argue that he has more axes hanging on his belt.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know how massive his belt is, or how many axes he can actually have on his belt, but you know what, that's a good reason why Draven could be at least equal to Jinx. So it really
Fair enough.
doesn't matter which one you think is weaker, these two are just
Yeah,
the worst.
we don't really have
Not as
much
bad
about
as her
Annie.
though.
No,
Above them,
nothing
we
is
have
as bad
Annie.
as this.
This may surprise a lot of you, but remember that Annie has no real idea how to use her power. The only thing that ever happens to her is that when she gets scared, Tibers comes to life to save her.
Oh, nice.
And that's all that ever happens. Unlike what she does in the game, in the lore she doesn't really know how to cast spells. It just randomly happens.
Yeah.
Then there is Twitch. Twitch's advantage is
It's a
that
rat.
he's a mutant. He can get wounded and then be fine the next day. And he has a really deadly crossbow. But that's kinda where it ends.
Yeah.
The one who would be able to beat him is Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank
Like
is
in
really
game.
strong when it comes to his physical form. But he does have his limitations. He's a machine, so if people know how he works, they can easily abuse him.
Yeah.
And also, his moral code tells him that he shouldn't be harming people. Above him, believe it or not, there is Cassiopeia. And that's for one simple reason. Cassiopeia never does what she's actually doing in the game. In the lore, all she ever
Yeah,
did
she really
is
didn't do
strangle
anything.
people with her snake tail.
Yeah.
However, we should mention the fact that she did petrify someone once. There was a story where she was stressed and she screamed so hard she turned someone into stone. So she does have some abilities, but first of all,
But
it is her curse. She
Yeah.
doesn't know how to control it.
Yeah.
And we simply don't have that much info on what her abilities are about.
Yep.
She simply needs more lore. But at the very least, she really doesn't have the ability to summon snakes. Spitting poison is the only ability which I would understand.
Yeah.
Then there is Echo. Echo is kinda shady because yes, the ability to manipulate time may sound really powerful, but it has a catch. Yes, with his device he can slow time for a brief moment, and then for quite a while he can't use it again. But that is the stronger ability. His rewinding time is even worse. He can only rewind like 6 seconds back,
Yeah.
and he can only do it if he is alive. So one bullet
Yep.
in the head and Echo is done. Not to mention the fact that even if he rewinds, he will still feel the pain from his wounds. This was especially shown in his cinematic. So his abilities are really not that powerful. Then there is Mundo. Mundo speaks for himself. He is physically strong, but he's dumb as bricks.
Yeah.
Then there is Ezreal.
Well, he gave
and
away
right after
his
Ezreal,
smarts,
there
right?
will be a lot of champions who have very similar power level.
Yeah.
Ezreal's only issue is that he doesn't really know how to control his glove perfectly.
Oh.
He himself doesn't really have any kind of professional training, and oftentimes he has no idea what he's doing. He's kinda squeezing the glove and hoping that something good happens.
Oh, nice.
So while the glove of Nazuk, the artifact which he has, is really powerful, Ezreal
does not
doesn't
use
know
it.
how to fully unlock its potential.
I can't wait for them. They will probably eventually remake Israel, where he can actually control the full powers of his glove. That would be really cool, yeah.
On a similar level, then there is Graves. Graves' power really comes from two things. Living in the underground, he has lived through a lot of shootouts. He knows
his
how
smarts.
to fight people.
Yeah.
But also, his shotgun is just really powerful.
Yep.
And since it is partially enhanced with magic and hextech, it is just really strong.
Let's see. Misfortune. Alistair. Not sure. Vi. Not sure. Not sure. That's Gnar. Oh, it's Akali. Probably Fizz.
Very slightly above him, there is
Gragas.
Misfortune. Yes,
Okay.
she is just a human.
Oh, that was
But on
Jace,
top
okay.
of Graves, her combat mastery is a bit high.
No, she's not just a human. She's a fine specimen of human genetics. Look at that shit.
She's far more agile, she has charm on her side, and similar to Graves, her guns were crafted by the best smiths in Bilgewater, her parents. On a similar level, above her, we have Alistar. While Alistar
we
is
don't know
really
much about
strong because he is a Minotaur, that's kinda where his powers end.
Yeah.
He would be able to take a lot of hits and he would last for very long. But
Yeah.
anyone with at least a little bit of training would be able to outmaneuver him. Or if they are clever, they can outlast him. Really, compared to the other Minotaurs which we know about from Legends of Runeterra, Alistar should be one of the weaker ones.
Wow.
Then there is Jace.
Ouch.
Above everyone else, he actually has a really powerful hextech machinery on his side. That's being
about
his
it.
hammer. But the real benefit he has comes from his intellect. He is very smart. But his smartness probably won't outmaneuver Vi. While Jace crafted the hammer himself, Vi's Atlas gauntlets were enhanced by the professionals in the Piltover military. So in the present days, Vi would be above Jace. And of course above her.
One sec. The original gauntlets come from the mining golems, but they were enhanced with Piltover Hextech after she joined Shka. Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
in the
That
present
was what
days,
happened.
Vi would be above Jace.
That's kind of
And
what
of
happened in
course
Arcane.
above
yeah.
her we would have Caitlyn, who not only has a really deadly hextech sniper rifle, but she also has professional officer training on her side. Though even that kind of training would not outlast Gangplank, whose power really comes from his stubbornness and refusal to die. He
Basically,
lost
yeah.
his arm and he came back. He was tested by Ilawi with the power of Nagake Boros, and he passed the test of his will. He was deemed worthy of living by the gods themselves. That alone makes Gangplank more powerful than anyone else so far.
Yeah.
And this is where the power level jumps up a bit. So now we get to people who are either
interesting.
military veterans, or they have some kind of a special or magical training. First there is Irelia. Irelia comes from a family of weavers. They were weaver dancing. And it so happens that her weaver dances are able to manipulate blades that come from her family crest. She was quite strong even when she was young. That's when she cut off Swain's hand. But she is still somewhat inexperienced compared to the others. What she's really lacking is some professional training. Irelia is purely self-taught. She knew how to dance, then she realized she can manipulate blades, and she herself started training with the blades. So, someone like Riven would be above her. Because not only is Riven's blade far more powerful than what Irelia has, remember that her weapon was crafted by the Black Rose, but also Riven was trained in the Noxian military. She got a proper soldier's training, so those combined would rank her higher. And she would be roughly on the same level as someone like Akali. Akali is partially spiritually attuned to Ionia, even though her bond is not really that strong. But she also has her Kinku training, with the Kinku being one of the most powerful orders in Ionia. And then we have two Yordles who are highly debatable. There is Gnar and Fizz. The issue with those two is that they are primitive. Gnar is the oldest Yordle on Runeterra, and Fizz is very close to him. And while Gnar's mega form would be able to defeat anyone else so far, he is not smart, and so the rest will be able to outmaneuver him. And with Fizz, the issue is that...
That's what I feel about Gnar players too. No way this league lore is that... bro, league lore is messed up. Like, it is so deep, it's crazy. Like, it goes so far back. Yeah.
Fizz just never fights.
Like, they have
he jumps around
millennia
and
of
plays
the
with
story.
people, but he never really does anything beyond that.
Yeah, he jumps
Yordles
around.
usually rank higher up because they are Yordles.
Hey, why is Gragas up here, though? Like, he's just a drunk. It's just a drunk fat guy.
Their normal power level is really high, but they are brought even higher because of their intellect. Yordles are smart, but not these two. That's why
these
these
two are
two
dumb
are
as fuck.
debatable. So
Like the players who play them. I'm just saying.
if you would personally rank them higher, I would understand. And then there is Gragas.
Yep.
While the Iceborn are really strong people, Gragas...
Oh yeah, long time ago. There hasn't been I haven't found an updated lore in Morgana yet. I'll make a list later of videos I want to watch. That'll probably be for next week, though. I won't be able to do it this week. It's gonna take too long, probably.
is lacking any kind of real weapon. Yes, he would
He will probably go over Morgana here at some point, based on this list. Where is it? Morgana is probably somewhere up there. So, yeah. Oh. Too much. There we go.
really strong people, Gragas is lacking
Sure.
any kind of real weapon. Yes, he would be able to punch you to death, but that's kinda where he ends.
You don't need a weapon when you got a big belly and big fists.
He is physically insanely strong,
have fun.
but nothing more than that. He would be on a similar level as someone like Quinn. Quinn's issue is that she is no assassin, she's not a killer, she's a scout. She is really good at sneaking around and scouting areas. But when she gets into a fight,
Not if she gets fed, though. If she
she's
gets
not that
fed.
good. As an example, in the Garen novel, Quinn almost died after fighting 2 people at once.
Oh, wow.
Valor does a lot to help her, and we are counting that power. That's why she is a lot higher than someone like Caitlyn. But still, she is really not that strong. And above her, we would have the 2 Noxian assassins. Of them, Talon is absolutely the stronger one. That's why
Because he
he's
can
above
run
her.
away.
However, neither of those 2 assassins are perfect. The reason why Katarina has a scar on her face is because she failed as an assassin. That's why she was kicked out.
Yeah.
And Talon managed to fail to kill Katarina when she was stationary. So neither of them are perfect kills.
Wow, you guys suck.
That's why, above them, we would have the Demacian crew. Fiora, Jarvan, and Garen are all interchangeable. We know that Garen and Jarvan should be on the same kind of level. Because from their childhood, they have always been training together. The 2 are great friends. But the reason why I would put Garen slightly higher is because, unlike Jarvan,
He has more
Garen
battle
is used
experience,
in
no?
battles far more often.
just more battle
He should
experience.
have more experience. And the very slight problem with Fiora is that Fiora is focusing on one-on-one battles.
Yeah.
She is an amazing duelist, but her combat abilities are highly limited by that. And above these 3, we would have Darius. Darius
Interesting.
should be just as strong as Garen.
Yeah,
The
that's
2
what I was
would likely
thinking.
be equal. And while Garen has the advantage of having Petricite, the Noxian soldiers have the Black Iron, which is mined from the Freljord. And that is the strongest kind of steel that we know about. Darius's armor is nearly unbreakable. If you also count the fact that he's a member of the Triferix, even if we don't count the political power, Darius would be slightly above Garen. Surprisingly, slightly above him, then we have the special people. Just like Twisted Fate,
Special
who seems
people.
to be a normal human, but he is actually a mage. And his magical abilities alone would be above the rest. Vayne is on a similar level, but she doesn't take advantage.
But based on lore, wouldn't TF's magic not affect something like someone like Garen who is wearing armor that is immune to magic? Supposedly, you know. Yeah. Wait, Vayne has magical abilities?
Of magic. She ranks higher above the rest because of her arsenal alone. She is a really good killer, but
Yeah.
she is also being carried by her weapons, which are armed with silver bolts.
Oh,
But
okay.
better than silver bolts is Lucian, with his sentinel guns. The recent event showed us that the sentinel guns are really powerful, but they also enhance Lucian's abilities. They give him slight magical abilities, such as his dash. Above Lucian, we would have something like Zac, who
Yeah,
is
that's an
really just
experiment.
an experiment with quite some potential, but that's really where Zac ends. He is strong when it comes to...
I'm very surprised that Singed is above Vayne, Lucian. Heck, That cinches above misfortune. That cinches above Graves, honestly. I feel like for the most part he's a scientist that uses poisons, but it's like, and yeah, he's smart, but as far as combat goes, I don't know.
Slapping people,
well, we'll see.
But he is just a blob after all.
Yeah, yeah.
On a similar level, we would have Singed. He is a Piltovan professor by day and a Zonite murderer by night. He managed to figure out how to slightly prolong his own life, but he's currently trying to figure out how to really become immortal. His current experiments are some of the creepiest stories which we have in League.
Yeah,
and
but
it
as
is
far as
all about
battle...
Singed stitching people together in hopes of attaching a smart person onto a strong person. And
yeah, but as far as battle capabilities, I don't know, man.
Therefore prolonging the smart person's life. There is the theory that Singed wants to do that to himself. I highly recommend reading his story.
Yeah.
And above Singed, we would have the other crazy person.
Jin.
Jin's power comes from two different things. His masterful planning and the Tula armory. Many people may not know about it, but all the guns that Jin has were sponsored by a secret Ionian cabal. They are really powerful and magically enhanced. So his arsenal would rank him above the rest. Then we have something like Kha'Zix.
Yeah, Kha'Zix and
is a
Rengar are about the
Voidborn
same.
who eats animals. He's not really that smart, but physically
He evolves,
gets
right?
stronger with every kill.
Yeah.
However, he's not really the ever-consuming void creature. Surprisingly, Lux would be on a similar level. She is a really strong mage, and she has the potential to be really high up on the list. But her issue is that Lux doesn't really know how to control her light. That is the point of her story, especially in the comic. Above her, we have the other people who tap into magical abilities, such as Nidalee. She is really just a person who taps into the ability to morph into a cat.
Yep.
And then there is Kai'Sa, who really just taps into the ability to have a Voidborn attached to her. She is strong, but it's nothing mind-blowing. And then there is rank.
Wait, I just noticed that Kassadin's still not on this list. Bro, now I'm getting. Woo! Okay, let's see, we got Elise next. Don't know. Urgot, Sona. Don't know. Not sure. And then Sivir.
Rengar, who over time is getting stronger and stronger on a way faster rate than someone like Kha'Zix. And don't worry, no, we are not counting the power that comes from the Sentinels of Light, just like for Vayne. This is just Rengar before the event. Then there is Elise, who, just like Nidalee or Kai'Sa, is a human that is tapping into another source of power.
Wait, Kayn
but it
is
just
that
so happens
low?
to be that the power of the Shadow Isles
I thought it was Kayn, but I also thought it's like, no way Kayn is that low. So I was like, okay,
is
whatever.
way better, with it being connected to an immortal god called Vilemo.
Yeah.
Above her, there is Kayn, who is also tapping into another power. The issue with Kayn is that he is still a child, and his shadow training is nowhere near completion. So he is neither a master of the shadow technique, nor is he the Darkin. That's...
Yeah, but you would still think he's siphoning the power of the Dark. I'm not saying he's like, you know, full on, but still, probably stronger than this list.
why he is a lot weaker in the current state than what people realize. On a similar level, there would be Warwick, who is really strong and really ferocious, but his insane status kinda cripples him at the same time. The same goes for Urgot, but Urgot is actually smart. And that's not even talking about him being really resilient, or the fact that he can meat grind people. And slightly above him, there would be Sona, who is a really powerful mage who can make you dance so hard your bones break. Don't underestimate Sona. And on a very similar level, there would be someone like Orianna. Orianna's power doesn't really come from combat. Yes, she can fight, but she's no fighter. Her power purely comes from the fact that she's the perfect combination of organic and synthetic. She is the top form of human assimilated with Hextech. But she's not quite perfect. We'll get to that.
Okay. 1 second. See, I see Yasuo, but I see Malzahar here, but I still do not see a Kassadin. That's a good sign. No, wait, please tell me this is not Kassadin, though.
And then there is Yuumi.
It might
While
be Kassadin
everyone
next to
may argue
Malzahar.
that Yuumi is just a cat, that's not really the case. Yumi is a spirit from Bandle City. She's exactly the same thing as something like Pix, which Lulu has.
Pix?
So it doesn't matter what she looks like. She may look like a cat, but her power level would be something close to something like Vastayan, a magical creature. But she would still be slightly lesser than them. That's why above Yumi we have most of the Vastayan. There is Rakan, who is really the weakest of them. Then there is Set, who is a really strong fighter, and he's a Vastayan, but his human side is kinda holding him back. Above him there would be another really formidable fighter, Sivir. Sivir would be a lot lower on the list if she didn't hold the Chalikar. The Chalikar is the blade that was the key to sealing the Darkin inside their weapons. That artifact alone is insanely good. But above her there is Samira. Samira is a professionally trained mercenary who is also an assassin. Now that alone would make her strong, but what puts her that high on the list is the fact that her arsenal comes from the Black Rose. You really can't find more advanced weapons in the entirety of Nox.
So LB is gonna be decently high, because she's like the leader of the Black Rose, no?
Then there is Talia, a really good stoneweaver who suffers from two things. She is really young and inexperienced, and she never got proper training for her abilities.
Because there's no one to train her.
She was trained by Yasuo when she was in Ionia, and that's really where it ended. So should she get some proper
I'm glad that the lore I watched about Yasuo and Talia, well, most of Talia, but Yasuo was there, was actually the end of the story. I don't really care about her and Yasuo too much. Yasuo could be interesting, but her, not so much.
Elemental training from Ishtal, Talia would be a lot higher.
Like her lore ended when she entered Shurima.
And finally, to
city.
top of this category, there is also Xayah. The last Ionian Vastayan, who is by far the deadliest of them. But here we have a bit of a jump in the power level. Next up, there is Xin Zhao, who many may know as Viscero. That was his gladiator name. Xin Zhao was originally an Ionian soldier. He was insanely powerful, but he was captured by the Noxians during the invasion. Because he was so strong, the Noxians thought it would be funny if they used him in the arena. And so, that's where Xin fought. And no one ever defeated him. He was able to take on dozens of people at the same time. And so, being as strong as he is, the Noxians then used Xin Zhao as a living weapon. And together with some other gladiators, they sent Xin Zhao into Demacia to claim the lands for them. That's where the Noxians were defeated, and Jarvan III thought that Xin Zhao was not fighting for the right side.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, how would Noxians think that's like they will be able to, like, well, I don't know what they used to like try and make him like submit to them, but I mean, he's clearly a captive, you know. It's like he doesn't want to go back.
That's how Xin Zhao was converted. Anyway, the point is, Xin Zhao is insanely strong. But not quite as powerful as someone like Lee Sin. Lee Sin may be
but Xin Zhao has the eye advantage. He can see.
Slightly lower than Xin Zhao when it comes to pure fighting. But Lee Sin has the edge because he can use the Dragon's Flame. The same goes for Yasuo. He's also a really good fighter, but he has the edge because he can use the Wind Technique. And somewhat of a similar thing goes for Victor. Victor himself is a really clever inventor. But his power level comes from the fact that he's really good at replacing his own body. He is simply more than a human, on a similar level to other people using some kind of a powerful technique. And what's better than a really clever powerful inventor? A Yordle inventor. Or 3 of them. Rumble is the lowest of them because Rumble is using literal garbage for his machine. Heimerdinger is above him because he actually knows what the heck he's doing with his invention.
I'm surprised that Ziggs is above Heimer as far as inventions go.
And Ziggs would be above him because Ziggs is not held back by moral code. His wild side would give him the edge. Then we have the 2 guys who are tapping into the powers of the void. They are not really as
No, Kassadin is so low. No.
Insanely powerful as people would think. They are really just people touched by the void. But the void is so powerful that
I'm just happy Kassadin is stronger than his daughter. Okay, that would kind of suck. Dude, how is he weaker than Ari, bro? Oh my god.
Kassadin and Malzahar would be above the rest. And then there is Gled. A really old...
See, here's the problem though, because there's no updated lore on Malzahar and Kassadin, that's all he can say. there's really nothing about them like in the last decade.
And Malzahar would be above the
That
rest.
sucks.
And then there is Gled, a really old and really skilled soldier, who's kinda held back by his dementia. A very unfortunate fate for Gled. Though because of Scarl, it almost kinda equals out.
Okay,
Shivana would be on a similar level. Being a half-dragon, it's almost natural to be a really powerful magical being.
Yeah.
Almost as powerful as the last land-walking Vastaya, Wukong. The reason why Wukong is above all the other Vastaya so
Yeah, didn't he practice in Wuju basically?
far is because Wukong was trained by Master Yi.
Yeah.
Which means that Wukong has the basics of the Wuju technique.
Yeah.
He can't use it, he didn't have visions of the past just like Master Yi did, but even with Master Yi's training on its own, Wukong is just way more powerful.
Yeah.
And he is even using the battle staff of Doran. Above him we would have
Do I see Master Yi here at all? Not really. Yeah, I see Diana. I see Yone. I see Senna. I see, what's her name, Gwen. Vhagar. Yeah, I don't see Master Yi. Master Yi is like way up there. Huh?
Sion, a human being resurrected by pure dark magic. That's kinda where that ends. Above him, there would
Olaf.
be Yorick, someone who is
Yeah.
able to survive the Black Mist because he has a vial of the Blessed Waters on his neck, and someone who has the ability to speak to the dead and control the dead. Though that is not as powerful as someone like Ilawi,
Who has
who is the
an actual
chosen
god.
of the god of motion called Nagake Boros. Using the Eye of the God, which is the artifact she's holding, she's able to test mortal souls. That's what she did to Gangplank. And channeling the god's powers, Ilawi is just way above everyone else.
Yeah.
Though the Iceborn would be above her.
Really?
Just like
All of
Ari.
them.
Alright, I always say that someone is the last Vastaya, but no, Ari is the last land-walking Vastaya on this list. While the Iceborn are really strong themselves, because they are just really resilient people inheriting the distant power of the Watchers, while being able to wield weapons of true ice, which can instantly kill anyone who is not an Iceborn. Ari is on a similar level because she is empowered by the souls of her victims. So when
Oh.
it comes to Ari, essentially the longer she lives, the more powerful she gets.
Okay, fair enough.
Then above the Iceborn, we have some of the undead. Kalista is there because unlike the other people from the Shadow Isles,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kalista is no way a raid boss material. So even if there is a Viego raid, Kalista, the only way she could be a raid boss would be as a council fight with Hecarim and Thresh.
Kalista is not utilizing
As the
power
three
of the
generals,
Black Mist.
basically.
That's why she is a lot lower. And Karthus is really just herding the souls.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do anything about that. And so, above those, we have the other people related to the Black Mist. There is Akshan, who should be on the same level as someone like Lucian, who was way lower on the list.
But
the Absolver and the ability to resurrect people brings
Oh.
him a lot higher. Next to him, there is Senna.
yeah, but one-on-one he would suck. It's in a big battle of like, let's say thousands for 1,000, then yeah, I can see him being a lot more useful than a Lucian. But yeah.
Who is also just like Lucian,
And
but she
can tap
embraces
into
the
the-
power of the Black Mist.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for Gwen. Except for Black Mist, Gwen is using the Hallowed Mist. And above them, we have the last Vastaya, who's not land-walking.
The third
Being
last
one of the
Vastaya.
Marai, who are one of the most ancient Vastaya that we know about, inheriting the wisdom of her people, and having the connection of the aspect of the moon, that's why Nami would be above the other Vastaya.
Okay.
Then there is
Olaf,
Olaf,
Trin,
who is
Yone.
really shady. Once again, not counting the lore from the Sentinels of Light, it is really difficult to rank Olaf, because
Yeah.
theoretically,
He just doesn't die though.
Olaf is immortal.
Yeah.
As long as he fights, he can't die.
Yeah.
That is what his prophecy said. But you know, it would be insane to say that he would be actually immortal as long as he fought. All
Yeah, he's just sending one-on-one against an ancient one and just just fight for eternity.
prophecies should be able to be broken. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Olaf would have to be on the same level of something like Aurelian, a
Yeah.
never-dying soul. But that would be quite insane. That's why Olaf is where he is.
Yeah.
A really strong fighter with uncanny powers, just like Tryndamere. Tryndamere is above everyone else because he is tapping into the power of the Darkin. That's where his encounter
Oh, is that
with
what
Aatrox comes in.
his R
So
is?
basically, he is a Freljordian warrior tapping into some insane powers.
Yeah.
The same
Yone, Varus, can't really tell.
goes for
Okay.
Yone. That's why Yone is above him. He's also just a really powerful swordsman who is tapping into the power of the Ionian demons called the Azakana.
Oh,
and
is that
that's
what it
why Varus is slightly above him.
'Cause he's a
Varus is the combination
Darkin.
of 2 veteran archers who were incredible hunters
Darkin.
and 1 really powerful Darkin.
Yeah.
But here, since the Darkin also has some control over the body, Varus is just way higher than Kayn. And he would be on the same level of someone like Yone. And
Why,
then
bro? But he's not as strong as Tristana, a Yordle,
we have the Yordles.
or Poppy.
Unlike the other Yordles, including Kled, the reason why these are more powerful is because their connection to the spirit realm is a lot higher.
Oh.
Ziggs, Heimerdinger, and Rumble are really just screwing around in the
Smart.
mortal realms.
Yeah, they're just
While
smart.
all of these Yordles are embracing the spiritual powers. Tristana would be the weakest of them, followed by Poppy, who has the edge because she has the Hammer of Orlon, a legendary artifact weapon. Above her, there would be Lulu, one of the most powerful sorcerer Yordles in Bandle City.
Yeah.
Above her, there would be Kennen, whose link to the spirit realm is far higher than anyone else's.
What I don't like is that these guys are. What he's saying right now is true. I'm just saying that's like there's not enough story about them directly about them. They're like they appear here and there. Lulu had like some background story way back when, right? But it's like they don't really have anything that proves their power. It's just an assumption that they're stronger just because they are tapped into the spirit realm more. Also, how the fuck is Timo up here? More than Kassadin? Come
Because
on,
he's one of the
man.
leaders of Kinku. And above him, there is Timo. We don't know too much about
Yeah,
Timo,
that's the problem.
but we know that despite his looks, Timo is one of the deadliest Yordles out there. He's a master assassin at the same time.
Fucking
So
Christ,
whether
man.
Timo or Kennen is stronger, that's really up to you.
It's hard to see it in game that Timo is more of an assassin than something like a Talon or a Katarina. But he's a trap assassin, just lays down traps, I guess.
Those, there would be Trundle.
Trundle.
Trolls in general are incredibly strong.
Yeah.
They are pretty much immune
Isn't he
to
the leader
frost,
of the-
But Trundle himself is also an Iceborn. He wields a true ice weapon. That on top of the fact that trolls have incredible regenerating powers, Trundle is just way higher than what people would expect.
Yeah.
But he's
And then we
not
got
quite as
Nico.
powerful as something like Vastayan Shirei, which is Nico.
Vastayan
Nico is not
Shirei?
a pure Vastayan Shirei. If she was, she would be way higher on the list.
Okay.
But she is close enough to her pure ancestors.
Am I assuming that what's that deer called? Lily or whatever? The semi-goat? She is a pure Vastayan Shirei?
That her power levels are just way too high. That's why, notice, I didn't call her a Vastaya. And she would be on a similar level to something like Maokai.
Really?
Maokai is a nature spirit, but the issue with Maokai is that Maokai is barely surviving. He's doing all he can to push back the black mist, so he is not in the best shape. Above him there would be Nunu, but Nunu's powers don't really come from Nunu. It's all about Willem. From Nunu's story, we learned that the ancient Yetis were insanely powerful. They had incredible connections to magic, and their wisdom was inconceivable. So Willem alone is able to carry Nunu. Literally. After that we have Janna. Janna is also a primal spirit, but she's not in her best shape. Before Piltover and Zone split, many people worshipped her. That's when she was at her best. But since then, only people in Zone pray to Janna, and Janna gets her power from her followers. That's why she's not as high as she could be. Lilia is on the same level. She's also a spirit born from dreams in Ionia. Not the most powerful spirit, but powerful enough. And then we get to Rel. Rel is an incredible mage who is thought to be able to fight someone like Mordekaiser with proper training. Currently, Rel is held back by 2 facts. She is
Not
a
enough
child
training.
and she has no real training.
That's a child? Holy
Once
fuck.
both of those factors get cancelled out, she'll be a lot
Maybe
higher.
teenager.
Above her
Yeah.
there is Veigar, the last Yordle on this list who is the most powerful Yordle that we know about. And above him there is a spirit that is not in a bad shape. Ivern is a spirit that was born from the Omikayalan, the world tree of Ionia. That alone makes Ivern really powerful. But he's still not the primal spirit of the entire continent.
Yeah, he was a
is
human.
essentially just a spirit, in a slightly weaker form because Ivern the Cruel, the Freljordian warrior, cut down the original tree that was responsible for the power of the spirit. So even Ivern is not in his prime. And Ivern would have a similar power to Camille. Camille is an expert assassin, forged by Hextech to be perfect. She has enhanced vision, she really can't miss, and she got the best training Piltover could offer. She is really assassin brought to perfection. Galio would be on a similar level. He's a petricide style.
I feel like Camille would not be able to touch Galio. I don't think Galio would be able to catch Camille, like if they ever fought based on the lore. But I don't feel like she would do any real damage to him either.
Titan, he's really big.
Yep.
But that's kinda where his power
That's pretty
comes
much
from.
it, yeah.
If he wasn't big, Galio would be actually way lower on the list.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because besides moving around, he doesn't do much. Maybe besides absorbing magic. But even that can backfire. On a similar level, there would also be Skarner. If you really think about it, Skarner is just a dude. But he's a different species. So it is really the fact that he has a Hextech battery on his tail that brings
He's the strongest dude of his race, yeah.
him this high. Then there is Udyr, a spirit walker channeling the power of the primal gods of Freljord. There is not much more I can say on this. He's a guy who is tapping into some real godly powers. That's why Aphelios is right next to him.
Oh.
Aphelios is also a guy who is tapping into godly powers of the moon goddess.
Oh.
And that's why Pantheon is next to him. Pantheon used to be a god himself, but after the aspect of war died, now he is a dude that is tapping into the remnants of a godly power.
Oh, so that's who Aatrox stabbed. He did stab Pantheon to kill the god, but the remnant of the god still remains, so Pantheon can use it. Okay.
And that's why
Interesting.
Swain is next to him. Because Swain is tapping into the godly powers of a demon. And one of the more powerful demons at that, the demon of secrets, Raum. And following the patterns, then there is Pike. Pike is a guy who is tapping into the powers of Nagake Boros. While he should be on the same level of someone like Illaoi, Illaoi is only following the powers of Nagake Boros.
Oh, he's
and
actually
she's
using
wielding
them.
them for the gods' good. But Pike is infused with those powers. He's almost being controlled by the god. That's why he's a lot higher. And then we get the first Shreeman Ascended, Nasus. Nasus is really powerful, but he's also quite depressed these days, so he is not in his best form.
Can't
Then
blame
there
him.
is Nocturne. The reason why Nocturne, unlike the other demons, is this low is because Nocturne is banished. As far as we know, he should be still locked up somewhere around Demacia. His encounter with Lux didn't really go well. That's why, in his current form, Nocturne is slightly lower. Then there is someone like Hecarim, who is this high because he is fully embracing the power of the Black Mist. Hecarim can freely make up his own army as he wishes. We learned that from his very recent story in Demacia. He simply reaches into the Black Mist, pulls out a spirit, and he uses that spirit as his own.
Yeah, Hecarim would be like the perfect Halloween event. I mean, he is the headless horseman, just he has a head, you know?
Own soldier. That's why Hecarim can craft his own armies. Silas would be on a similar level, though Silas's power is highly situational. If Silas is in the middle of nowhere, he can't do anything. He needs to be around something magical. But the reason why he is this high, unlike the other mages, despite having somewhat simple magical abilities, Silas was able to wield the power of Morgana when he was in the capital city. Under normal circumstances, normal mortals would be broken by such powers. But Silas was able to tap into the powers of gods and then wield them.
Okay, so Morgana now is a god. Where's Kale on this list then?
That makes him special. Someone like Zed would be still slightly above him.
Let's see, we have... What's this? Vladimir, Zyra, Syndra... What's that worm called? The jungler. That can't see shit. That's him. Who is Gray? This is Zillion, probably.
The shadow technique is simply that powerful. It is similar to Nocturne himself, but Nocturne is still weaker because he is banished. That's why Zed is so high. And then there is Renekton. Renekton is simply far stronger than Nasus. And
but
in
he's
the
just
latest
stupider.
story, we even saw what happens if someone tries to strike Renekton down. Some kind of weird celestial magic reshapes Renekton's bones and meat and snaps him back together. Reading his story was quite mind-blowing. But what we learned from that is that we always underestimated Renekton's power. Then we finally get another demon, Tahm Kench.
Oh.
Not the most powerful
Great.
one,
Okay.
but he is still a demon. So his power level in general would be way above everyone else. Kinda on the same level of someone like Rek'Sai. One of the
Rek'Sai.
biggest Voidborn on Runeterra that we know about. You know, we have no idea what Cho'Gath is. But being the Broodmother, Rek'Sai is just insanely powerful. And then there is Nautilus.
Who
If
was
you
a
thought
man.
that Pike was really good because he was infused with the powers of Nagake Boros, he's nothing compared to Nautilus. Nagake Boros forged Nautilus
Yeah.
into a full-on titan. At this point, Nautilus is the right hand of the god. And then we have Shen. Being the Eye of Twilight, Shen has by far the best connection to the spirit realm. At least out of all the mortals. He's really deadly in the physical realm and he's really deadly in the spirit realm. There's really not much people can do when fighting him. Then there is Brand. Normally Brand would be a lot
Also a
higher,
demon.
because Brand is essentially using the power of a world rune. But the point of Brand's story is that Brand can't control the power of a world rune. The
Oh, I thought it was a demon. I guess maybe the story changed since.
power consumed him. So yes, he is really strong, but he doesn't have the power under control. That's why he is
Thresh.
slightly lower. And then there is Thresh. I'm recording this before we got the finale of the Light Sentinel event, so that one will definitely change Thresh's power. But currently,
Haha, yeah, about that. I guess not. I guess it didn't.
it seems like Thresh will be the new leader of the Shadow Isles. That's
Okay.
why he is right here. He is holding inconceivable power, just like someone like Syndra. Syndra should be a lot higher, or at least she has the potential to be higher. But Syndra killed every teacher who tried to teach her
Yeah.
how to use her powers.
So-
So while Syndra has unlimited potential, as she says, the potential is very limited by her own abilities. She simply has no idea what.
See, I feel like something like Syndra, like the unlimited potential type champions, they can eventually evolve to being something like a raid boss. Right now, obviously not. It's like everyone here is at most a dungeon boss, if not just a world, not even a world boss, just like a world event type thing. But like Syndra, for example, would be someone I would be like, you know what? Give her enough time, maybe she could become a raid boss.
She's doing. Then there is Zyra. The reason why Zyra is so high is because
she's
Zyra
hot.
is a plant that is currently consuming about a third of Ishtal. The Kumungu jungles are being devastated by her, so I wouldn't underestimate her powers.
Okay.
And then we get to some really powerful mages.
See, I see LeBlanc here. Doesn't look like it's a Morgana. Maybe this one is Tarek. This is Eve, I guess. This is Master Yi. Not sure who this is.
Zillion is insanely strong, not just
But he
because he
can't
has the
control
mastery
it.
over chronomancy, and not just because he's one of the very few people who are able to resist the void, but also because he is a mage who trained in Shurima, in Icathia, in Ishtal, and on the Blessed Isles. Simply said, he is
He
a
knows her a
really
lot.
powerful mage in general. Just like Vladimir.
Yep.
Vladimir is a mage who has the mastery over hemomancy, which originated from the Darkin. Combine this with the fact that hemomancy in general has the ability to make you stronger over time, because you simply reshape your body to be stronger and stronger. He also comes from Kamavor, and also, back in the old days, LeBlanc considered Vladimir to be her only equal.
Oh.
She has never met a more powerful mage. That's why Vladimir is so high.
Okay, so LeBlanc has to be on this list. I guess the next one should be LeBlanc. then.
He should be higher, but because Vladimir is hiding in Noxus all the time, he doesn't really have the chance to expand his powers. Above him, there would be Jax, or
Oh, no,
Saijek
LeBlanc's still
Squari
up there.
Ikathun. There's not much to say about him. Jax is the
'cause
only
there's not
mortal
much
who was
talk
able
about
to
him.
single-handedly defeat a Shuriman Ascended. He's the only
Okay.
one who was able to defeat a God Warrior. For that alone, that's why he is this high. But also, he is holding the last flame of Icathia, and it is possible that he is a sand troll. So he
Yeah,
might
he
be
looks like
like
a Zeno.
Trundle, but on steroids. Then there is Evelyn. Simply a really powerful demon who can shape into anything. She grows more powerful over time the more people she kills. Then there is Malphite. His power really comes from the fact that he is simply really big. He is the shard of the monolith.
But he's
which
also
was
a good
floating
guy, so we're
Ishtali
not gonna
citadel.
fight this guy for
so
sure.
Coming from a purely elemental place, his powers are just really high. However, not as high as the best elementalist mage from Ishtal. Kiana.
Isn't she the emperor or like the queen of that place?
In the entirety of that entire region, there simply isn't a better mage. Kiana is that powerful.
Even though all of her damage is physical in the game, but whatever.
Very slightly more powerful than her, there will be Azir, who is able to single-handedly...
Is Azir weaker than Xerath, though? That is... I guess this should be the same power, but...
raise entire armies from sand. He is the most powerful Ascendant there has ever been, and he might be the most powerful Emperor Shurima has ever had.
Yeah.
Xerath would be slightly above him for one simple reason. Azir got the powers from the Sun Disk willingly, but Xerath forced those powers into his body. Xerath took more power than what was intended for him. That's why his power level is higher. Then we get to Master Yi. I could honestly rant about Yi for hours, but if you are curious as to why Yi is so high, here's why. The Vuju technique is just so powerful. Strong, yeah. It was never intended to be used in combat, but when the Noxian invasion arrived, Yi thought,
Yi just went destroy
maybe I
all
should
of them.
use it. Yeah. And so he did, and he killed thousands of Noxians alone. The Noxians were so afraid of him, they tracked down his home village and nuked it just to be safe. Just to know there are no other warriors as powerful as him.
Oh my god, bro, that's just so funny. That is such a funny story if you think about it. It's like, yo, fuck this guy, we're not fighting him, just nuke it. Kill it with fire.
And the reason why the Vuju technique is so powerful is because it dates back to the first ever mortal race to exist on the planet. The first ever Vastayan used this technique when fighting the first Stone Titans. That's why Yi is where he is. Vel'Koz would be on a similar level because as one of the oldest Voidborn, just like Master Yi, he is able to kill thousands of people in the blink of an eye. And then there is Tariq, who might be the weakest of the aspects, but hey, he's an aspect. Yeah. Above Tariq...
So here's... Okay, so Karma's story, which could have been updated since, but Karma is like comes from a family of farmers, and they just had this like out of nowhere magical fans. So she's that strong. But let's see, we have Leona, Karma, Anivia, Rammus, Rise, Diana, not sure, Ornn, Aatrox? Aatrox here?
I would put LeBlanc. Once again, we are not counting political powers. But LeBlanc is ancient at this point. She is thousands of years old. She was present in the Immortal Bastion when Mordekaiser ruled it. She was the one who got Mordekaiser killed. Now she is mastering all the black magic that Mordekaiser was hiding in Noxus. And she is dominating and corrupting the minds of people all over Runeterra. She has eyes everywhere because, quite frankly...
Oh, so that's what she's wanted. Okay.
She is mind-controlling people everywhere. That's what her clones are about. Her clones are the influence over the entire world. I really wouldn't underestimate LeBlanc's power. Then above LeBlanc, we have another powerful aspect, Leona.
Okay, see what I mean though? Look at that.
Estimate LeBlanc's power. Then above...
This is obviously a year ago, right? So it's like, it's been updated, but like, see, based on this, Viego is here, you know, it's like...
LeBlanc, we have another powerful aspect, Leona. And above her, there is Karma, who is Dara, a mortal vessel to the entire Ionian spirit. The spirit of an entire continent is inside Karma.
So it did change.
So just like the aspects, she is a vessel of gods. Then there is Anivia, the weakest of the primal gods. Then there is Rammus.
Wait,
but it is
so is Volley stronger than Viego right now? Well, based on this part?
Theorize that he might be also one of the primal gods, but truth be told, we don't really know anything about Rammus.
Yeah, we don't know.
But we know that he is snacking on the Voidborn like they were Cheetos. At least he is very powerful because he considers the Voidborn Cheetos. And then there is Rise.
Makes sense.
Someone who has the potential of the power of the world runes. But unlike someone like Syndra, who has the potential but she doesn't know how to use it. Rise also has the potential, and he also can use the power if he wished to do so. But he simply doesn't do it because he's afraid he's gonna destroy the entire world. So Rise is simply insanely strong.
Wait, and Diana is stronger than Rise when he has the potential to destroy the entire world? Okay.
He is wielding the power that shaped the entire world.
Okay.
And then there is Diana, one of the stronger Targonian aspects. Unlike Leona, Diana is actually actively pursuing the powers of the moon. Then there is Viego.
So how's she
Viego
stronger?
is simply really powerful because he is the source of the black mist.
Yeah.
He is the one who can dominate minds of pretty much anything. But he's held back by the fact that he doesn't care about corrupting people.
Okay, so yeah, so this is probably before his wife told him, I don't want you.
He just wants Isolde, and that's his biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Then there is Morgana, also technically a Targonian
Okay.
aspect, but above someone like Diana and Leona. She and Kael were there when Demacia was formed, so they have wisdom, but also
Okay.
they are more closely attuned to the Targonian powers. While someone like Diana and Leona are still trying to figure out
Says this scale up here.
what is even happening. Compared to them, Leona and Diana are young. Then we have another really powerful primal Freljordian
Yeah,
god, Ornn. And as strong as someone like Ornn, there will be Aatrox, the God Slayer. Aatrox is simply a Darkin that got out of hand. His rage is untamable, and as long as a mortal is holding his blade and Aatrox can dominate them, Aatrox is unstoppable. He is the only being in existence that we know about that was able to kill a celestial god. That being War. And on the exact same level as Aatrox, I would say we have Kael. Kael is likely the most powerful of the Targonian mortal
Top 10,
peasants.
let's go.
Being the aspect of justice, she can rain down holy swords on entire nations. Theoretically, she is responsible for Garen's ultimate, but we don't count that into Garen's power. Garen's ultimate is technically Kael's power. And the reason why Morgana is below her is because
And then even though Kael and Morgana are half aspects of justice, Morgana gave up on her powers and she let Kael pick up her blade. Oh.
Morgana willingly gave up on some of her powers. Above those, then we have Lysandra. While Lysandra was really powerful when the three sisters were still alive, and you know, she got wounded by the Volibear, over time, mastering the ability to not only use the true ice, but also the black ice, she is simply far more powerful than people give her credit for. She is the only person who is able to keep back the Watchers, the end of all reality. That's why she may be the most powerful mortal in existence.
Yeah.
But still above her, we have the stronger of the primal gods, the Volibear. Then we have Soraka. While it is true...
Then we have Soraka. What, like... Then we have... then we have Soraka. What a drop.
that Soraka is purely a celestial being. Soraka gave up on her celestial powers so that she could drop down onto Runeterra, get a physical form, and help mortals from their suffering.
Yeah.
Soraka does have a physical body right now, but
So
her
she
power
shouldn't be
is
top
so
7.
strong her
Oh.
body is burning from the inside.
Oh,
That's why
interesting.
in-game, when you heal someone, you hurt yourself. It's because the powers of Soraka are too strong for her mortal body to
That's
handle.
okay. That
Essentially,
makes sense.
she is slowly dying. Then we have
But very slowly.
Mordekaiser, a warlord who, when he was alive, constructed the immortal
And when he was
bastion
dead, was too
and
angry to die.
devastated an entire continent on his own. He himself died on a mountain of corpses. But then he died, he found out there were no gods of death, and so he just decided to become a god of death.
Might
if you
as well.
thought that Viego was the king of the undead, you have no idea what Mordekaiser is about. His power is far beyond that.
Yeah, like, Mord is definitely more of a raid boss than Viego. Like, just based on this video, yes. Though, that being said, Viego is still very, very strong. Don't get me wrong, okay? This is before the full story of Viego was unleashed, I believe.
He is the true king of the realm of the dead.
Yeah.
Then there
We
is
have
Zoe,
Zoe,
the aspect
goddamn.
of Twilight, who would rank even above someone like Kael, simply because the Twilight is that powerful. But also, it is the Twilight that currently holds the reins to Aurelian's soul. That's why she would be above the rest. Then there is Bard. Now, while
Not
Bard
much
is
is
not
known,
really
though.
a fighter and he
Yeah.
doesn't hurt anyone,
He's just traveling.
Bard are the first sounds the cosmos ever produced. He's on the same level of something like Aurelian's soul.
Is number 1 gonna be Aurelian's soul?
He is simply a pure
Is
cosmic
something
energy.
stronger than
But
Aurelian's
unlike
soul?
Soraka, he didn't bind himself to a mortal
It's also
form.
a year
he
ago,
just visited
so
Runeterra,
some
and he
champions
didn't
don't
want to
release
scare
it.
people, so he borrowed some items from a traveling theater.
Hmm.
He is still a pure celestial being. And around him, I would rank Fiddlesticks.
Number one
As
demon?
far as we know, Fiddlesticks is the primal demon.
Yeah.
He is the dark force that is moving the entirety of Runeterra. He is the source of the legend of the 10 kings. The 10 kings where one king consumed the rest. So it is possible that once there were 10 demons, but Fiddlesticks consumed the rest. He is the primal evil. And no, the Scarecrow is not Fiddlesticks.
Yeah,
the
it's the
demon
eyes.
is inside the Scarecrow, and he's just using it as a vessel.
Yeah.
So remember, Fiddlesticks, first of 10, Fiddlesticks, end of men. And then we have Aurelian Soul.
Oh shit, so
the
there's someone
Star
stronger
Forger.
than him.
You know, a technical god. Because
Yeah.
he has the ability to actually forge stars around which you form planets. You couldn't get more godly than that.
Yeah.
However, even Aurelian is not the most powerful.
Oh,
Because
yes.
it was confirmed, everyone in reality has to meet the end. And Aurelian Soul...
Bro, this is
no
why I
exception.
said, man, Kindred is like Kindred power level is gonna be like the like it's up there on raid boss level. Not that we have to fight it, but power level, yeah, something like Kindred.
Even he can't avoid it.
This is why I said, man, no
and
one
that
beats
is the
it.
list of all the champions ranked according to their power, according to their lore. It was quite a longer video than I expected, but you know,
good
we
shit,
had to
man.
do it. It was inevitable. Of course, if you don't agree with something, feel free to argue with us in the comment section. The comment section is gonna be quite the battle of mains anyway. But remember, we spent 4 hours on stream with about 1200 people talking about this. I really think this list is really fair. But you know, the lore is ever changing. The Sentinels of Light were a proof of that. So, who knows where Thresh is gonna land?
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess this is also before full story of what's it called? Of Viego, maybe, or maybe this is past full story. Either way, though, just
According to their
this
power,
part.
according...
Let's go all the way up. No, not really, does it? Okay, yeah, Kindred. So, like, who could be like potential raid bosses here, really? I guess if we go with Viego, then Aatrox for sure as well. Kale, probably not, because unless we have a problem with Justice, you know. Syndra would probably be something like a raid boss, but she would be... Would she be the first raid boss? I would say end of expansion raid boss. I would go with Syndra to open an expansion onto Ancient Ones. I would go with that. Mordekaiser, Realm of the Dead type of expansion. Bard and Zoe don't really need to be raid bosses. I can see them as trials. Not Final Fantasy trial. Like, as in, like, if they are gonna be someone we fight, it would be more of a test rather than, like, actual fight. Fiddlesticks definitely gonna be a something. However, I feel like it's not gonna be a raid. Fiddlesticks is more of a... He's kind of like everywhere, right? So maybe like someone suggested world boss in different locations. That would be cool. Aurelian Soul, again, I don't see a reason for us to really fight him because he's under the control of Zoe. So if we were fighting him, means we had to beat up Zoe to release his reigns, right? It's like, I don't know. There's also no reason to fight Kindred. Maybe we meet Kindred at some point. Yo, would be funny if, like, when you first time you die, Kindred comes and Wolf wants to kill you, and then Kindred is like the goat is like, yeah, no, he's for the other one, and just leaves us be and we resurrect or some shit like that. But yeah, anyone else here would be a raid boss. Zerath can be a raid boss. I can see that. Not necessarily like the same power level, but like he's trying to make his own empire for sure. LeBlanc. I don't know enough about her power. Even though he says she's here, it's kind of like she doesn't feel like... It feels like because of her information network, she's so strong, not so much because of her actual powers. So, whatever. Leona and Diana, we don't really have a reason to fight them. Karma, no reason to fight. Rammus, no reason to fight. Rise, the only time I would say we fight him is if he's losing control over his power and starts to destroy the world by mistake. But as far as I know, Rise is not evil. So, yeah, a lot of these are not. Nocturne, if he gets released, can be a raid boss type. Hecarim, Thresh, and Kalista, like I said, council fight at most. Thresh and Hecarim, like, on their own, I don't think they're raid material. Syndra potentially can be, but it's like in a very long time. She needs to get stronger. Taric, I don't see a reason. Who else? Azir could be if he actually does start enslaving the Shurimans, because I don't know if he actually goes and enslaves them. It was just hinted at. I can see them as a raid boss, like the whole city would be a massive raid or something like that. Tahm Kench, feels more of a dungeon, just like the vibe I get from him. Just doesn't feel raidy, you know? Also, it's not necessarily like any of these will be raid. Well, some of them probably are, like Viego will probably be. But like a lot of these just like, they don't fit the bill in their characteristic to be a raid boss, you know? But yeah. I mean, they could go with like Cho'Gath raid boss, like he just fucking consumed so much that he became a fucking mountain and we need to like beat the shit out of him so he gets smaller. Or something like that. But yeah, anyways, that's the video. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.